The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the podcast brought to you by Levi Solicitors. 10% off your legal fees, would you believe it, at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball.
They must be mad to be offering that. They call them crazy Levi Solicitors, don't they?
Sometimes, maybe.
Especially the judge.
They're very professional, is what they actually are. And if you want them for your legal services, do look them up. Moscow's here.
Where do I find them?
levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. That's the key bit for the discount there. That's right. You're on there now, are you, Moscow?
Yeah.
Yep, super.
The offers are just blowing my mind.
Rob is here too.
I don't even need any legal help.
Rob is behaving himself.
I mean, yeah, I've got to. One of us has to, hasn't they?
Bit of maturity.
If you like all this stuff, and Dan's back next week, so don't worry too much. It's not always me. TSB Plus is available. You get a daily email from Moscow. That's nice.
Sometimes Rob.
He occasionally lets me do that sometimes.
It's like you're like work experience. Does he stand over you going,
yeah, and then
I wouldn't have put that.
Just rewrites it then afterwards.
You get access to the match ball when we do that live. You get propaganda extra. We're talking about penises this week. Don't know if that's your thing, but there's plenty of that on there. Plus loads more on all the magazines that we've done forever, which is like back to the Bates era if you want to hear about some very, very unhappy times.
And some good times.
Into the news then. We're not signing anyone. Brilliant. We had some links last week. Could have discussed them. Then Phil came on and said, nah, none of them are happening.
It's a bit of a disadvantage of him doing that Monday show now, because either it's you this week or Dan just goes and asks him some stuff and he says no, and then we come in on Tuesday and we're like, well, Phil says no, apparently.
Should we sign Juan Mata anyway? Even if Phil says we're not?
Yeah, why not? Let's stick him left back. It'll be fine.
Would that be one way of causing more anarchy?
Anarchy.
Juan Mata's got my lanes.
Yeah, that's true. I saw a list. I can't remember who had done it. It might have been Gary Neville. Had done a list of the successful signings and failures. And amber, there was a red, a green, and amber. There were like two greens, and then there was he was in the red. Was old Mata. So failure there. I thought he was all right.
It was their best player for years, wasn't he?
I don't know. I wasn't watching.
And he's generally he's always a bit uncomfortable being there because he seems like a good guy. So we could be like a Dan James rescue mission.
He could come and blog for us, which I think is basically all he did at Scum for the last few years, wasn't it?
That's true, yeah. I'll get him in as a writer.
I mean,
maybe swap deal?
It was pointed out as well.
You want to go there?
Just sit in the reserves, take a load of money.
Dan James was basically the only person on that list they made a profit on as well, which is more for us, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know what that says about us.
I mean, we did nearly get him for like £5 million. So they probably wouldn't have bought him if we hadn't tried to.
We really needed that striker when we signed him, so we had to pay a premium.
And instead, we got
Jean-Kevin.
Oh, was that the season after? That was the season after that, wasn't it?
Yeah, but if we'd had Dan James, we'd never have even thought about Jean-Kevin or Augusta.
We're not signing a left-back either, are we? Despite being linked with one. Who's this guy?
Which guy?
Kai Wagner, that's the one.
Oh, well, yes. So there is some evidence of life in that Jesse Marsh has directly contacted Philadelphia Union manager Jim Curtin.
Pull yourself together, Jim.
I was hoping something would happen. Who he is the coach of Brendan Aaronson's younger brother, Paxton, who we were talking about last week because he scored for them in the 4-1 defeat to Cincinnati. But yes, Curtin says he's talked with Jesse Marsh about Kai Wagner's status. The team would like Wagner to stay, but Kai would like to play at the highest level. So Philadelphia Union are still waiting for any official offers to come in. This is from a fan site reporting this. They say it is a still to be determined kind of situation. I think that's a quote from the press conference that Curtin was given. It's a still to be determined kind of situation. But a couple of weeks to get a left back in from Philadelphia. Don't know if he's any good. Let's hope he's great.
I think let's just sign one so Marsh doesn't have to stick Jack Harrison there and then blame him after the end of games. Let's get another scapegoat. I think that's what I'm proposing.
It's an unusual career path, though. Going to MLS at a young age and then back. It's a bit Jackie Harrison. Maybe. He's turned out all right, hasn't he? So
not a left back.
Not a left back, no.
He's 6 foot tall as well, so he's another big lad like the big pirate that we've got there currently.
I like having a big back four because there's obviously Christensen at the other side is a bit of a unit, and there is times when you just look across our back four and think, oh, massive now, whereas previously under Bielsa, everyone just looked thin and weak.
Yeah, and even at centre back, you had like 5'8" Berardi.
Yeah,
there trying his absolute best. Him climbing in the back of Peter Crouch was one of the finest early memories of Bielsa's system, wasn't it, against Stoke?
And remember when we played Middlesbrough, and at a corner, Berardi just disappeared behind Daniel Ayala, and it was the other one. Was it Frey? They had two massive centre halves who'd come up, and they converged on each other, and Berardi just disappeared.
Another player we're not signing, according to Phil. Anyway, Sports Witness said we were, but FC Zurich's Wilfried Gnonto. I don't know how you say it. Let's go with that.
Surely the G would be silent. Gnonto. Did Phil not say it properly?
Phil never says it. Phil can't pronounce anything.
Well, then how can we take his dismissal of a transfer link seriously if he can't even give us the correct pronunciation of the player's name?
He
could have been talking about anybody.
For no reason at all, I wanted us to sign him as well because he's young and seemed quite cheap. The rumours seemed to be like 4 or 5 million. And I was like, yeah, we'll have him. Have him for that. It's just a frivolous purchase. It's like a frivolous home bargains purchase. You're just wandering around. You go, yeah, go on, we'll have him.
We want more expensive youth strikers, not Mateo Joseph. Getting a more expensive version of him.
Exactly. Get him bombed out on loan to Morecambe or somewhere. That's what I say. That'll do him good. Should we get him then, Gnonto?
The serious part of me does think, well, we've signed Matteo Joseph and Sonny Perkins. Scoobs is going to be spoilt for choice.
But wouldn't he be more of a first team choice?
He's 18.
But he's played for Italy. He's played first team football in Switzerland, like Gianni Alioski.
Yeah, I mean, there is some sense. I was surprised to learn that Aston Villa's new centre-back, who spent 30 million on, is 29. I know we did that with Rodrigo, but that was kind of an exception. We can have been doing I think I'm so used to Leeds pushing the 25 and under, 15 million and under tactic of like trying to get them young and improve them, that when I see Aston Villa spending all their money on a centre-half who is 29 already, when they've already got Mings, is he going to be that much better than Tyrone Mings? And
probably, yeah.
And he's also broken now.
Wonderful. So it just gets better and better.
He's gone for the Paddy Kisnorbo, hasn't he? The full Achilles break, I think.
That's like Paddy Kisnorbo when he was managing Melbourne and he celebrated, Melbourne City, and he celebrated lifting their title on crutches because he's done his Achilles again in a charity game.
It will break again. So basically, Villa, you've wasted that money.
But with Wilfried Gnonto, it seems maybe too far the other way, because 18 seems a little bit young to be coming in and being like the backup. Because if we're still looking for a player, a striker, who will challenge Bamford and Gelhardt, can fill in if and when neither of them are available, but isn't so much better than them that neither of them get the game time. Bamford's case to be the top scorer for England at the World Cup, and in Gelhardt's place to become the new Messi. So it's a very specific brief, and so I can kind of sympathise why it's difficult to find. And I wonder that an 18-year-old playing in the Swiss league, even if he is an Italian international, is the right player to be kind of dropping into a match here and a match there, which hopefully it will be. I mean, as we said, the ideal would be for whatever striker we sign to never play. Bamford seems to be making that very difficult, as does Joffy, disappearing again at the weekend. But
they're both not that bad, though, apparently.
So we're told. Joffy Gelhardt, in Marsh's words, a little bit injured. I do wonder if that's like being a little bit pregnant. He's got a dead leg.
He's not pregnant, though, we can confirm. Who knows? Anyway, is Pat Bamford pregnant? Probably not.
No, he's just become a dad, hasn't he?
He has, and I believe that was his girlfriend who gave birth to that one.
No, it wasn't him.
No, not him. Right. Not him on that one. But he was vigorously rubbing his groin, so who knows what he's planning.
To get fit, hopefully, it's difficult. Marsh expected both him and Gelhardt to be back in training before Chelsea, didn't he? So they should be running about. Whereas Liam Cooper, having picked something up after falling off a treadmill in summer, who knows? At least Forshaw played, Sinisterra played, Stuart Dallas. What is he doing?
I'm constantly amazed at how quickly players come back from injuries, but then they also seem to get injured very quickly. But for Dallas, I'd assume I was never going to walk again if I'd broken a femur. I'd be thinking, well, that's at least 6 months like an old-fashioned carry-on film, laid in bed with your leg in traction, is what I would imagine. But there he is running around like an absolute idiot.
He was always playing already injured though, wasn't he? So he'll probably make his comeback with his leg still in a cast or something, I imagine.
Do you remember when Rudy Austin broke his leg? And he came back in a fortnight?
That was while he was already playing for Jamaica all around the world, wasn't it?
I think the key thing there was he never actually broke his leg. It was it wasn't as bad as it looked, but yeah, it was always that's the most remarkable recovery I can remember at Leeds.
The Bamford one is weird, it seems, like the way they're talking about him, because I mean, one of the first things Marsh ever said as Leeds manager was that he wasn't going to play players unless they were 100% fit. But then the way he's been talking about it all summer has been, well, you know, he just needs a few games. But then the way he was talking about it after Southampton, it was in a sense of, well, you know, Pat needed to tell us before the game. He promised to be honest and tell us if he was struggling or not. So there obviously are still problems that he's dealing with, and it isn't just a case of getting him match fit. It is still a case of getting him physically fit, which before the season I was kind of cool about, not necessarily signing a striker because I really want to see more of Joffrey. But then you saw at the weekend how it really doesn't take much to actually have no options. It's a dead leg and a groin injury, which isn't that bad. It's not bad enough to stop him training, but it's still enough to stop him playing.
I mean, Jesse, after the game, he kind of implied that he could have played on if he'd have really wanted to.
If it was a cup final or something, he said, didn't
which was, I thought was
it was a cup final.
It sounded a little
Southampton
bit
away. It's
like
an important match.
A bit of shade thrown at Bamford was that. It's like, if he'd have wanted to, he could have stayed on. But, you know.
But then, no, I think
off he comes.
I think he means they've told him it's not a cup final, so don't mess about.
And the thing with his injury at Wolves last season was, it was in the interview with The Athletic last week, that he was feeling before the game like, oh shit, I don't think I can play here. I don't think it's right. But he forced himself to play anyway. And the point he was making was like, well, we're never 100% fit. So he forced himself to play and lasted 20 minutes and ended in tears or whatever it was.
Well, that's the thing. His mate in that is who he does the shoes with now, who used to play for, his dad owned Forest and he played football as well, didn't he? He was talking about, and you do hear footballers say, they're never 100% fit. There's always something wrong with them. That's why they always have to. Recovery is the big thing. It's like, can we just get you fit enough to play the next match? And Bamford, after a year of basically not playing and spending most of that time injured, it just leaves you susceptible to setbacks and twinges, and because you're using muscles in ways that you've not used them for a long time, so they are not used to it, and so there is more likely that they're going to twinge and hurt and cause pain. So they're trying to stop it before it happens in this case, which is good, but also it leaves us with Dan James back up front, which is not necessarily good. But then, you know, nobody wants to hear it, but if Rodrigo, every time he goes to number 9, scores goals, then maybe that's the answer.
And have we made a huge mistake in letting Tyler Roberts' goal machine go out on loan?
That was after the last week's podcast, wasn't it? I couldn't remember if we discussed it last week.
I think it might have been on the same night as we recorded, because it was one of the Carabao Cup games, wasn't it?
That QPR ended up losing, but Roberts did score in the penalty in that. Great goal, great hit. Not such great defending from Charlton.
I mean, I feel really sorry for him that the week's ended with QPR's goalkeeper scoring. It's sort of like, you can't even have 1 week of being the goal scorer at the club, and now he's got as many goals as the goalkeeper.
On one night as well, because they ended up, Charlton equalised and then knocked QPR out on penalties, so that's the end of their Carabao Cup dreams. Which, I don't know, maybe do I envy them, the end of their Carabao Cup dreams? I don't think it's particularly a dream that enthralls me. Although, if it could be just a competition. Let's replace the Carabao Cup, because everyone's always going about like, oh, it's a bit of an imposition on the schedule, and Jurgen Klopp doesn't like it. So maybe he and me would be happier with just Tyler Roberts volleys competition. Okay. Or just some kind of Tyler Roberts does tricks. So replace the entire Carabao Cup programme. It can just be 90 minutes on, because they do it Tuesday and Wednesdays, so they can put them both nights during the week. 90 minutes, Tyler Roberts just does trick shots. Put that on TV.
So that will be a viewership of 1, which will be you.
No, it could be me and Jurgen Klopp, because Jurgen Klopp can still be there and he's like, I'm so glad my players are not putting themselves through the torture of another football match.
Have you not been captivated by the Carabao Cup then? Have you not got Carabao fever for our Barnsley tie? The Derek Lilly derby?
Well, it does reunite us with Michael Duff.
It does, of Championship Manager fame many years ago. We may do an episode.
We don't want to promise anybody because we've been avoiding the subject for about 2 years, but there have been discussions with Michael Duff's people, or at least the 8-bit Mike Duff.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I think since we last played that game, our star striker has died in real life, which is a bit of a downer on the game. Maxim Sigalko, the Belarusian wonder kid that we have in our team.
Yeah, God bless him.
So, yeah, we might bring it back. We might bring the game back.
Yeah,
it'll be with a strange... It was a pre-pandemic game, wasn't it? That's how long ago it was.
So, but yeah, Michael Duff was a star of when we were playing Championship Manager on here, and now he's turning up manager of Barnsley.
He seems all right, actually, as well. When I've seen him in press conferences, I always think comes across quite well. But let's beat him.
We fell into that trap with Paul Heckingbottom, though, didn't we?
Did we like him before?
No, we hated him.
No, okay, good.
Because he also, I hate Leeds. My mum said, he had some Manc accent again. He was he was slower, wasn't he? My mum, he always used to say, we play on black fields. We go out and some of us would be Leeds. Some of us would be Barnsley. And sometimes I had to be Leeds and I hated it. But sometimes I was Barnsley. Hated that too. It was Yorkshire, South Yorkshire. We didn't like much.
I mean, we're not doing a full Barnsley preview because it's beneath us, frankly.
When even is it?
It's like next week.
Is it next week?
Oh, is it? I'm meant to be going.
I bought a ticket for it yesterday. Yeah, I didn't honestly check when it was. I think it's next Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, but I didn't know it was next Wednesday. Yeah. Which is a bit out there because normally we do these things on a Tuesday night, so Wednesday night's a bit different. Mm-hmm. So a bit of a novelty.
Exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, and so a while since we can get some excitement. A while since we played Barnsley.
Will we see Archie Gray? That'd be nice.
Playing for Barnsley. I thought we'd sold him to Barnsley.
Not yet.
His dad played
for him, yeah.
He did. But we'll see a lot of changes in this. Or do you think we're early enough in the season that Jesse will be still wanting to get his first 11 out and get him ticking over properly?
Is Jesse still talking about us winning cups under him and stuff like that?
No, he's given up.
Yeah.
He's like, guys.
What was the time span on us winning loads of trophies?
After those substitutions at Southampton, I realised I can't do it.
I mean, the under-21s team yesterday was basically half a first team, so it might be a bit of a mix between that and the actual starting 11, I guess.
You watched that. How was Scooby? Scoobs, that's it, not Scooby. And it was some Scooby-Doo nickname that he's got.
It was good. It was strange, actually, because, it was half a first team, so the midfield was Forshaw and Greenwood. Mateus Click was the number 10. Somerville was playing. It was Cody Drama at full-back, so it was quite a strong team. And you saw the difference in quality between the Leeds and the Norwich team, but Leeds were just kind of happy to play at like a testimonial pace. It was Mateus Click and Adam Forshaw were just sort of playing two-touch between them for a lot of it, which was actually quite fun to watch, just kind of them take the piss a little bit. But and they scored really early, they created lots of chances, but then because they were playing at quite a slow pace on the ball, I thought whenever Norwich actually ran a bit, they actually caused a few problems, and they got an equaliser really quickly after the first. They equalised again in the second half. It was Perkins scored the second, and Mateo Joseph scored again for the first one.
Goal machine.
Yeah,
he got 4 at Derby, was it, the first game? So 5 already. So yeah, it was quite fun watching Click and Forshaw, and Greenwood in particular I really like as well now. But they did take Forshaw off at half time, which I presume is because he played. I presume it's because he played at the weekend, but he was basically trying to injure a load of Leeds players. He tackled at least 3 of them. He was very I'm the grown up here, so I get the ball. So whenever the ball was sort of in his vicinity, it didn't matter if it was a Leeds player in possession. He just took it off them. But sometimes he was quite physical about it. There was one like near karate kick on. I think it was Keenan Carroll. So it was they're strange games, the under 21s.
What world have we entered where Adam Forshaw is karate kicking Seb Carroll's son? And they're on the same team.
There was even you could tell it was like a first team affair because Bryn Law was doing the commentary on LUTV, and he was saying how he plays football against Seb Carroll it's Harrogate Vets against Wetherby Vets, and he always plays against him, but he says he never gets anywhere near him.
Well, yeah, Seb Carroll was it's League One, so it's always difficult to rate these players, but he was all right, really, wasn't he?
I thought he was all right. It was quite tricky.
Yeah.
Not a huge amount of end product, as I remember it.
League One.
But yeah, all wingers are that, basically, aren't they?
Yeah, League One winger is basically someone who's a bit quick and then can sometimes deliver a cross vaguely accurately, but mainly not.
That sometimes Billy Painter, he came afterwards, wasn't he? Name a League One striker, because Becchio and Beckford would finish anything.
Constantine
would sometimes be able to finish.
I don't think he ever scored for us. Never mind.
Just keep trying.
Mark De Vries didn't he? So
he did get the one, yes. So we'll go with him.
There are, while we are just naming random former Leeds players, the Barnsley preview, as well as being reunited with Michael Duff, there is Clark O'Dore. He is still there. Shot that, as he's also known. And Liam Kitchen.
And where is
a rock in their defence.
Where is Apo Halmer?
He's gone back home.
Yeah, he's back in Helsinki after the draw was made. I had to write about
You didn't have to. You wanted to.
You forced me into writing about Alioski asking Apo Halm if he was nervous before the game, which is one of the underrated Alioski moments. But yeah, I found that they actually liked him after the first season. He scored a few goals and stuff, and then he was basically injured for 2 years on and off. And he's now back in Helsinki. Back
to his home planet. It's a nice happy ending.
It's the Seb Saucer career trajectory. I called it.
They've given him the number 6 shirts, but he was on the bench for the last game in the Europa League. They played against Maribor, 1-0 defeat, which is Darko Milanic's old stomping ground.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
I think there's still a second leg of that to go, but don't count on it. Oh yes, it is 2 legs. So what they need to do for the second leg, bit of advice: put Halmy in, and you won't concede any goals.
Any other news, or is that it? It's a bit of a bare week this week. Nothing to report on signings. Buy some players, Leeds, for God's sake. I'm sick of this.
Yeah, you don't get this on the transfer speculations of. I mean, Scum right now must be loving the links to Jamie Vardy.
It's like last week when they started signing Arnautovic and then kind of leaked it and then went, oh well, we've seen the reaction, and it was only ever a joke, just a big old joke,
just a passing fancy.
We're actually getting Jamie Vardy. Right, that'll do then. We're going to be back with a Chelsea preview in a minute.
The Square Ball Podcast.